Okay, good afternoon, everybody. So Google has already deprecated 1% of third-party cookies in Chrome, and the rest are due to be deprecated at the end of this year. New technologies like Privacy Sandbox are emerging as both an opportunity and also a challenge. And today we're going to talk about how agencies and publishers and technology partners should think about these new technologies alongside existing technologies like curation and first-party data, and emerging technologies like single sign-on and authenticated traffic and cookieless identity solutions. So in a moment, I'll ask my panel to introduce themselves, but first of all, I'll introduce myself. My name is Matt Griffiths. I'm the founder and Chief Technology Officer at Audigent. I was also part of the IAB task force that's been reviewing the Privacy Sandbox. And I'm also the chairman of Prebid's global task force. So Audigent is a data activation, curation, and identity company. And we work with premium advertisers to add premium data and create curated marketplaces that advertisers can use to drive performance and campaign goals. So now I'll ask my panel to introduce themselves, starting perhaps...
Not ladies first, as Daniela says. I'm Oliver. I'm partner at Jetzt Statista, which is a digital strategy consultancy. We're active in developing data strategies for publishers, advertisers, ad tech strategies. And sometimes we also work for US-based trade organizations such as the IAB Tech Lab, for which I can speak on behalf here too on this panel, because this is relevant to the topic. And we, for example, we represent IAB Tech Lab in the European markets, build up cooperations, build up engagement with the local ad tech markets. Thanks for having me.
Yes, no problem. Thank you. Daniela.
So hi, my name is Daniela Tollert. I'm Chief Growth Officer for GroupM, and I'm responsible for business development, product development, data, and MarTech. We decided a few years ago that data and MarTech, the whole transformation, which was coming up a few years ago, is so important for us, and we need to focus on the new things, the transformation process, and therefore we invested into people, into experts, and into technology. And therefore I decided to bring one of our experts, Jens, with me to show what we have done in the past and to emphasize on the importance of the transformation process, and that you have to invest into people and experts in order to drive the transformation in the future.
Yes, Jens Depenau, expert partner data strategy. Yes, I'm responsible for data strategy topics, data clean rooms, cookieless topics, and especially as curated deals. And we spoke a lot in the last weeks with Audigent. So that's why I'm here, and thank you for the invitation.
Thank you, Jens.
And I'm the other Jens, coming from Zalando Marketing Services. And ZMS, as I will refer to it going forward, is the retail media arm of the Zalando group. So we sell advertising on Zalando and outside of Zalando on behalf of our partners and our advertisers. And I'm in charge of marketing operations and insights in this function. And really looking forward to this discussion, because first-party data is obviously something that is very close to our heart, I would say.
Perfect. Thank you very much to everyone on the panel. So the first question that we're going to ask is that there are lots of changes that are happening in 2024, and that will bring risks and opportunities. So I would like to ask my panel, where do you think the biggest risks and opportunities are in 2024 because of the changes that are being made by Google? And perhaps I'll start with you, Oliver, if you don't mind.
I guess what is in front of us, no matter if it happens late this year or due to the CMA in UK early next year or whenever, is the biggest disruption which the digital advertising, especially the programmatic ecosystem, has encountered. And referring to the technical analysis, which has support by a significant number of IB Tech Lab members, 65 companies have contributed, 50 of them active with tech persons analyzing the Privacy Sandbox functionality, which is not the cookie alternative, as Google always says, but which is a piece of ad tech built into the browser. Significant parts of what we are doing right now as an industry by means of audience measurement, measurement especially by all KPIs, creative management, and auction management, and especially the interoperability between the different ad tech channels. So Chrome is an ad tech channel then, after the launch of the Privacy Sandbox. There are other ad tech channels, obviously. So as Tony Ketzer, the IB Tech Lab CEO, called it, Privacy Sandbox is not ready for center stage.
Yes.
It's not a fully developed piece of technology, and there's work to do. And if this work is not done within this year, before the cookie deprecation, the ecosystem won't function anymore as it functions right now. And so the interesting part right now is, since foreseeably now Google will enter the process inside IB Tech Lab as one other member, Google is a board member in the Tech Lab, will be not like how to evangelize the market for this piece of technology, but will be what changes will happen to the different APIs, so that we can make interoperability, frequency capping, and all this stuff which we have learned to, and which is not a question of privacy, right? So frequency capping should work. It's not a question of privacy that it doesn't work cross-platform. So this has to be changed. And if it doesn't change, it's a severe risk for everybody, for advertisers who cannot reach their audiences anymore, and for especially small and mid-sized publishers who don't have the resources to test and to implement first-party data strategies at large scale, which likely will lead also to publishers vanishing.
Yes, yeah. So lots of risks associated with the changes. Daniela?
So I'm a big fan of focusing on opportunities.
Okay.
Even we are aware about also the risks, but the opportunities, I think, are very, very big at the same time, because we already have opportunities facing the Google or the cookieless challenge. We have content targeting, we have like different ID systems, more or less. And we will have a Google solution in the future. That's basically clear. We need to change a lot. Our clients need to refocus and to change their campaign architecture. But this could also be a challenge. This is not only a threat. We focused on very nitty-gritty targetings, audience campaigns in the past. And I'm not quite sure if this was the right way or the best result. And everything coming up around the cookieless challenge in the future will force us to rethink about what we have done in the past, and will open up opportunities as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Jens Dipano.
Yes, I think it's a big need for test and learn in this year. And I see there are some clients who are running a test and learn program. So this is a great opportunity to realize better advertising, because the user acceptance will increase and then the efficiency will increase. So for us, it's a great chance to do better advertising. So it's a great opportunity. The risk is if the clients do not run a test and learn program, and maybe they are focusing on existing cookie solutions, this could be a big problem end of this year. So both is possible. Yeah, dependent what the clients will do. Are they running a test campaign, test and learn, or not? That's for me the big question.
Okay, very interesting. Thank you. And
and now I have the challenge of being the last one answering this question. I think overall, the challenge is obviously that there are fewer data available in the ecosystem, which will lead to it will become more difficult to do what we are all trying to do, to send relevant advertising to consumers who like the advertising, and by that deliver campaigns that are performant and that are working well, and that the money of the advertiser is spent well. I think that is a big challenge. But obviously, I absolutely agree. There are also great opportunities, and as someone representing a retail media company here, we have access to first-party media data in a very sizable dimension, and everything we do is by itself, given that it is an e-commerce environment, highly contextual. So I think for us, we see more the opportunity than the threat for obvious reasons. Okay. But I think overall, if you look at it from the perspective of how will the ecosystem and advertising as an industry develop, obviously there are some challenges that need to be tackled.
Okay, thank you. And my next question is actually around curation and first-party data, and I may come to you first this time, if you don't mind. So curation is a strategy that's used by many different companies to be able to reach the audiences that they want to in an effective and price-conscious way. And retail media is an obvious example of where curation is successful. Perhaps, Jens, you could just talk about how retail media is being used, how curation is being used within Zalando, and how you see that being successful over the rest of this year and next year.
Yeah, happy to do that. And indeed, as you said, it feels that that curation is at the very heart of retail media. It is kind of what we do, basically, because we bring together very deep first-party insights on consumers. We have a lot of contextual signals, because if someone browses a page for brown men's shoes, then you have a certain idea what he's looking for, right? And also the quality of the inventory is an important part and is kind of a necessary part in our business anyway, right? That's why our advertisers come to us, because all these things are already in place in a way. But obviously the opportunity for us here is to broaden that and to expand that beyond the e-commerce platform and beyond the Zalando premises. So I think that is a great opportunity. And I feel that kind of the beauty of first-party data, which is only scratched at this point in my perspective, is that you can combine first-party data, right? You can bring them together. There are a lot of first-party data out there. They are just isolated, right? And that is something where I see a lot of opportunity. And I think another opportunity, as you also said, Daniela, is we can make advertising better, right? When I look at my personal experience, the internet thinks that I'm an 80-year-old man and a 16-year-old girl at the same time. So there's definitely room for improvement here, I would say, right?
Okay, thank you. Maybe, Daniela, I might come to you as well. So I think the audience would be interested to hear from the agency side how important curation is as a part of your strategies moving forward.
Yeah. So to be honest, it's something which came up now, or which is new for us, because we are more working on focusing on DSPs, not on the SSP side. But for us, it's also an opportunity from different point of views. And I was sitting on a panel this morning regarding sustainability, and I'd like to close the loop, because it could also be a more sustainable way to deliver campaigns, not using so much technology, not using too much technology, and maybe focusing on less technology within the supply chain. So this is, for example, an opportunity we see for the future. The other thing is looking back a few years back, before Programmatic, we were activating I/O campaigns, and I/O campaigns were media and data bundled. Then Programmatic came up and we split media and data delivery. Now we have the opportunity to bring media and data together again, because first-party data are getting more important in the future.
Yes.
And the good thing is that maybe we can, or we can still activate it. We don't have the silos we had in the IO system, that we had to accept data and media from different silos. So we are able to combine both on a different platform, on a different technology, but we are already able to use data and media again.
Okay, yes, that's great. And I think we see that as a curation company, that when you combine data and inventory together, you get improvements in pricing and performance, which is ultimately what advertisers are looking for. So, yeah. And Jens?
Yeah, two comments on that. The first one is we realize a better control of the inventory. So if we know what the overlap between media and data is on the SSP side or curation side, it's better for us as an agency to realize the spendings on a publisher level. So because the old world was, okay, we had several publisher deals, send it to the DSP, activate data, but we didn't know before that, okay, what is the overlap? So it was a little bit of surprising, yeah, what the overlap is. Now we see the overlap in the curation SSP platform, send it to different seats. That is a big advantage. The second one is you can realize a faster reach or a higher reach at the beginning of a campaign period. The reason is really simple. If you activate a data segment via curation or via SSP versus the old world via DSP, the difference is the data CPM, right? So because you bid on data plus media for a pre-targeted deal. And that is why you realize a higher reach, especially at the beginning of a campaign. And so this is a really important point for us as an agency or for our advertisers to gain more reach, especially in the first days of a campaign.
Okay, thanks very much. That's very interesting. So I'm going to move on to my next question now, which is around Google's Privacy Sandbox. So I think we all know that Privacy Sandbox has already been released and that testing has already started. The initial results are mixed at best from my experience, but I think we all expect that Privacy Sandbox will be delivered by Google and cookies will deprecate either this year or next, as you said, Oliver. The IAB has just released a report on use cases that they consider will and will not be supported by the Privacy Sandbox. And their IAB is now involved with Google to assess those and see if we can bring about changes to the Privacy Sandbox that would support advertiser use cases. So maybe, Oliver, as you are associated with the IAB and also because you have a long history of supporting publishers, perhaps you could tell the audience which bits of the IAB report are very relevant for publishers here in Germany and in Europe.
It's like you can't. The Privacy Sandbox is a global thing, right? So there is no differentiation between German regulatory constraints, European, or any other regional constraints. It's just a set of globally acting APIs, which is good. So globally scalable solutions are brilliant for the industry.
Yes, of course.
If it comes down to publishers, the analysis of the Tech Lab working group didn't even start on the topics API, right? Yes. That's something which was left aside intentionally because we had so much work, those 65 companies to work on all the other stuff. If we look what we know right now, and which will definitely be sharpened in the next months, in now hopefully with Google Ads and Google Chrome participating in this process, is the question, for example, about measurement. Is it really the case? Should it really be the case that Chrome is an island in the sense of measurement of campaigns? It's not something that you can want, that you measure inside Chrome versus you measure inside other browsers versus you measure inside apps. That's not something we want. It's fragmentation. And the paper from Tech Lab also challenges what's the reason for this fragmentation? Obviously, it's not privacy. So measurement is not normally is not about privacy. Of course, there are things in the industry which need to change. That's what we all need. What we all know for years, to be honest. We are well-deserved challenged by regulators. Publishers are heavily challenged by regulators. Regulators didn't even start challenging advertisers severely. It's always the publishers who are hit right now, up to now. You as well. And so the question now is like you create more fragmentation inside the browser. You build in essence technically an SSP and an ad server into the browser with all the issues. There were first reports about latency, about viewability decreasing, and so on. So where's the light at the end of the tunnel? So where's the improvement? And then publishers come into a position saying like, okay, now I know enough. It's stable enough. It's robustly tested. Now I know how to build my first-party data strategy and how to execute on it and what is possible inside Chrome. It's not necessarily the same as inside Firefox or inside apps, but now I have a valid platform on which I can act. And right now, we don't have a valid platform.
I agree 100%. And you quoted Tony Katsu earlier in your introduction. I think he's quite right in that the privacy sandbox as it exists at the moment is not stable and it's not finished. And it's very difficult to expect advertising companies and publishers and agencies to invest their time and money in a technology that isn't finished. And we are in a very difficult position at the moment where people want to invest and they want to try and prove success, but there's so much changing that it can be difficult. Yeah. Maybe Jens, I'll come to you as a publisher and perhaps just ask, is Privacy Sandbox on your radar? Is it something that you are investing in, or are there reasons why you're not choosing to invest in it?
Yeah, I think it's important to separate here, so to say. So with ZMS and with retail media, we are in this very specific situation that our publisher is also our owner, our shareholder, so to say, right? Which brings us in this position that we have to be super careful and extra good at having a customer experience that is valuable to the customer, basically. So therefore, from that perspective, as ZMS, I cannot really comment on what Zalando as a publisher thinks, so to say. So this is kind of organized in a different part of the organization. But obviously, as I said earlier, I think from an overall perspective, it is for us, it's not a major concern at this point because this is not the majority of the business that we are doing.
Okay, very interesting. Thank you very much. So the time is going very quickly, so I'm going to move on to my last formal question. So Privacy Sandbox is one new technology and one new innovation that's been delivered into the market, but it is the result of data privacy regulations like GDPR here in Europe and increasingly state-by-state regulations even in the USA. There are other technologies that are emerging following data privacy regulations and following the deprecation of cookies, like cookieless identifiers, and ways to reach audiences that don't rely on third-party cookies. So maybe Daniela, I know at GroupM you've made a big investment in the cookieless future. Perhaps the audience would be interested to hear what kind of investments you've made and if you think cookieless is now ready to take over the cookie or if we are still a little behind.
So as mentioned at the beginning, we invested into people, into solutions. So a few years ago, we decided it's time for us to start the transformation process. For us as a company, because we are also offering products. Mm-hmm. And in the past, they were completely based on cookies. They are not anymore. And in order to consult our clients, our client leads in the agencies, they were facing different questions around what's the solution for us in the future? How can we do digital campaigns in the future without the cookie? And there are different options in place. or there were different options in place already, different ID systems, contextual targetings, whatever. And all of these solutions have different opportunities and different risks. And we decided to test. We set up a really big test and learn program within the company, and we tested all that solutions. And we figured out that there are things, some opportunities are better to generate reach. Some opportunities are better to address specific audiences, whatever. And we set up a pre-bid playbook, basically, where our client leads, our clients, everybody who wants to know details can look into. And where which we further develop in order to have something in place to consult, but also to reinvent our own solutions. And this is something Jens did in the past. So maybe you can.
Yeah, the naming is a cookieless playbook based on an evaluation method. Its naming is pre-bid, that's right. And the next steps are for our client teams to do again test and learn to evaluate what are the best cookieless solution for each client, because definitely it's not one solution and it's not 3 or 4 solution for every client. For every client there are different solutions, as Daniela said. For one is reach important, for the other one is precision important. So that is the next step, to see what are the best solutions for each client, and that is the responsibility of the agencies. And yeah.
And I just can recommend to test, because testing is the key in order to understand what's the mix of the solutions which fit the targets best.
Yeah, it's very difficult for publishers and advertisers because there are lots of choices and it can be costly to implement new ID solutions, especially on the buy side. It can be very difficult.
Yes, indeed. I think it's also a difference if you're talking about the publisher side or the advertiser side. So I think for publishers, it's even more challenging than for advertisers or for us as an agency to test, because you always have to invest into an infrastructure. Yes, that's for sure.
Yeah, very interesting. Jens, representing a publisher, how would you describe your strategy towards cookieless identifiers or different ways of replacing the cookie? Is it an area where you're currently investing, and have you chosen partners? Or is it an area where you're still exploring the kind of partners that are available?
Well, again, I cannot represent Zalando as the publisher, but I know that we are looking into different opportunities, and I think we have the same discussion as everyone. How can you integrate cookieless with the big other publishers that are out there, with the big platforms, and how can you make it work for everyone? But it is definitely, I can only agree, it is a test and learn. There are so many different opportunities, and you need to figure out what is the right path, and there's no one size fits all in this area.
Okay, perfect. And then maybe Oliver, just with a couple of minutes left, obviously you work advising publishers and other organizations. What kind of advice, if we don't have to pay you, what kind of advice could you give to publishers or partners about how they should think about new technology like cookieless identity?
Yeah, testing is key, obviously, but this moment is a unique moment, because actually you have to focus on the real essential thing as a publisher, which is reaching your audience, making your audience more valuable. For example, login or registrations or identifiers is a way to make the audience more valuable. This includes explaining the deal, right? So explaining the deal, you get content for free. In return, we get data in a sustainable and privacy safe way, and build your strategy on that. And then from that strategy, and this differs over whether you are a cooking website or a news website or or an interior design website. So there is different density and cohesion inside audiences, and news publishers having a more hard time. They are having more reach on the other hand. Based on your audience and your audience segmentation, you can base your technology strategy, not vice versa. Doesn't make sense to have like test the first 5 ID solutions, no matter which audience you have, or test a data clean room or something else. The risk, what we all have in front of us, is that in the end, the money flows where it's more easy, right? Which is likely the walled garden. That's why it's a great initiative what you just launched on focusing on news. So news as a value, because what I see on the other side on publishers is first publishers saying, and really big ones saying, let's phase out advertising. So we are fine on the subscription side. Advertising is not a growth scenario for us anymore. We are regulated like hell. So let's phase it out over the next few years out of our business plans. And that is a risk, because then you have high quality news content which can't be accessed on the open internet anymore, only by people who can afford it. And that's a risk. And on the other side, you see the risk that the money is just flowing there where the IDs, where the locked in base is, and then we all sit together and complain about market concentration.
Okay, a great point to end on. Thank you very much. So I think we can all agree that 2024 is going to be a difficult year in digital advertising, but there are also opportunities. With all the changes, there are opportunities. And it's been great to hear today from the panelists about some of the innovation and new thinking that companies within digital advertising are bringing into 2024. So just left to say thank you very much to everyone on the panel, and good luck to everyone in digital marketing this year.